All right, everyone. Hello and Happy New Year. This is the first Tea Time live stream of the year 2023. So I've actually been really missing these Tea Time live streams. Where's my channel? And turn down the volume. There we go. Oh no, LMR Trains just dropped a bunch of Scale HO people, and now they're all over the floor. Oh jeez, sounds gruesome. Alright, so let's say hello to some people. We have Tyler. Hello, Tyler. Hello, Ozzy. Hello, Isaiah. Hello, Jacob. Hello, Steve. Tyler. Jay. Liner says, do you know what wood was used in the Queen Mary's first class lounge? I think it is a very beautiful room. I once saw a picture of a house and someone had recreated the room on a smaller scale. First class lounge on Queen Mary. I don't remember that room specifically. I know there's golden peroba wood in the first class restaurant. I know there's tiger maple in the first class smoking room, but I don't remember what is in the main lounge. Let's see here. Well, anywho, yeah, but it's really great to see you all today because we haven't done a tea time since... Has it only been a week? It feels like it's been much longer. But, yeah, so I'm happy to be here, and I'll explain what we have on the menu today. The chat needs to be refreshed. Let's see here. Steve says the main lounge was maple burr with macaw. Yeah, that sounds right. Let's see here. Elmar Train says, hey, how are you? I'm doing great. I had a really great New Year's. Let's see, what did I do on New Year's? Oh, I was with my dad. I was making barbecue pork ribs. So those were like in the oven all day. And then while we were doing that, my dad and I were working on the model railroad layout behind me. So we were doing that together. And then after having dinner, we waited till midnight and we toasted the new year with cups of hot chocolate. So, yeah, that's what we did. Hello, Ken. Ocean Liner Fanatic says, when did you first go on the Queen Mary? It had to have been maybe 1997, but I don't remember the exact year. It was definitely the late 90s. I just don't remember the exact year. But it had to be 1997. I was a young lad at the time. Let's see. Mike says a week ago was tea time. Yeah, that sounds about right. It's just weird. It feels like so much longer, you know? That's probably just because I didn't do a tea time on Sunday, so it feels longer because I've skipped one. Let's see. Isaiah says, I have one question. Should I do audio of Dead Wake, the last crossing of Lusitania? Audio what? You know, a few people have been asking me about whether they should do audiobooks of the stuff because they saw that I did one. It's very, very important for me to mention, folks, I'm not doing any other audiobooks. And the reason why is because, believe it or not, someone owns the rights to the audio versions of every book. Somebody owns it. And if you create an audiobook, you are potentially trampling on their rights, and they could sue you for it. why did I take such a risk with the book RMS Queen Mary, Queen of the Queens? Well, because one, the author no longer exists. Two, the book was only published in 1969. It hasn't had any publishings after that. So I think the book is pretty much forgotten. It's been well over 55 years. So it's pretty much been forgotten. And then the publisher no longer exists. I think they went kaput in like the 1990s. So it's been almost 30 years since the publisher was gone. If anybody owns the rights, which I'm sure somebody does, the rights always go to somebody, but if anybody owns the rights to the book, they probably are not interested in republishing it. They're probably not interested in seeking royalties for any kind of stuff like that. So there's a very low likelihood that I would get in trouble for doing an audiobook version of it. If anything, whoever owns the rights to it probably is grateful that someone's at least enjoying the book still 55 years later. So, but it's very important for me to mention that that's the only reason I did that audiobook. I cannot do any others unless there is some that have literally been abandoned in the exact same way that book has. Because it would literally be trampling on the rights of someone else's audio rights to a book. So I have to mention that because I can't physically stop you from creating audiobooks of your favorite books, but that is a legal battle you would be facing if you did that. So I had to say that to everybody. Let's see here. Happy New Year, Kevin. Let me go ahead and turn on the hot water, get the tea started. Ozzy says, how is Alex's weather today? Well, as some people know, most of North America is undergoing major winter storms right now. So definitely here in Oregon, there is a lot of rain coming down because of a bomb cyclone that is just off the coast that is mostly going to hit Northern California. It's definitely rain and snow that they needed, but it's coming down so quickly and in such quantity that it's actually causing some dangerous situations in California. But yeah, so we're basically just getting rainstorms from the bomb cyclone here. Temperatures are not dropping that far. I was kind of hoping they'd get down to the 30s during the daytime, but it's not. It's staying at 45 just about. But yeah, so it's just been raining. Oceanliner Fanatic says, what happened to the Queen Mary's port lifeboats? Before they removed all of them, when I went back in 2017, half were missing. I was there in 2020. They hadn't touched... There was only 2 missing on the port side. There are a total of 12 on the port side. 12 davits, at least. 2 were missing, so there were still 10 on the port side. And they haven't moved them until, until last... 2 years ago. 2021 is when they started removing them. No, early 2022. It was February that they started removing them. Wow, so we're coming up on a year since they removed the lifeboats from Queen Mary. Let's see. Hello, Willem. Let's see here. Moonzer says, hey, Alex, my birthday is next month. I'm going to be 12 years old. Congratulations and happy birthday to you. I have a question. Did you know the Queen Mary has the original telegraphs in the bridge? Yes, I did know that. Hello, Kelly. Let's see. RMS Lusitania says, how did they remove the lifeboats in the side where the Weyi was? The Weyi. I don't know what you mean. I'm trying. I can't. Let's see. To not have. All right. So today's menu today is kind of back to normal. So I have cucumber sandwiches here on this plate, and then I have homemade Scottish shortbread here, which I actually made last night, and then I have some chocolate covered McVitie's. So it's going to be a nice little tea. It's taking unusually long for the water to boil. Then again, the water in the pipes are pretty cold during this time of year, so that's probably why it's taking so long to boil that water. Lusitania says water, so how did they remove the lifeboats in the side where the water was? Oh, they just had a really long crane and boom, you know, it was a big crane and they came and just lifted it from that side. I was worried that, you see, I don't know how big cranes get. I don't know what they look like in comparison to the Queen Mary, because up until they removed the lifeboats, I'd never seen a large crane next to the Queen Mary. So I wasn't sure if they would have to go to, you know, on the water to get the lifeboats. But no, they just reached right over with the crane and pulled them off that side. They did it really simply. I think they only had to move the crane 2 times. They moved it for the bow and then they moved it for the stern, and that's it. So the crane was able to reach the entire other side of the ship. It was crazy. It was a big crane. Liners of the Past says, why did Long Beach change the telegraphs from pastel green to brass? Was it to make it more nautical themed? So first, I don't think it was pastel green. It was more like a mint green, but I guess that's splitting hairs. But brass, I can only tell you based off of what I believe, which is that the green probably just didn't look that good. It probably just looked kind of, you know, it's green, you know. So I think what they did was they just stripped off the paint, because underneath it's brass. So they just stripped off the paint because brass looks nicer. You know, there are lots of ships that retained their brass telegraphs, you know, and they remained brass color. So to be honest, I kind of like it. I kind of like seeing the brass. I understand that the mint green in certain areas of the ship look, you know, accurate to the period, but I can only take so much green. I remember Steve was telling me about how the promenade deck on Queen Mary was painted that same green, and I was like, ugh, I'm kind of glad it doesn't look like that. I don't like that green. But I don't mind it in small quantities in certain rooms and stuff. But yeah, that was a lot of green. Okay, so we'll pour out half of this. And then pour out half of this. Oh. Almost poured it out into the teacup. I was like, okay. Let's see here. Leave that there. Let's go ahead and... Definitely the hot tap water I put in the teapot and teacup has definitely not stayed hot for very long. So it's a good thing that we take this step in preheating everything. Alrighty. I gotta go back and scroll up to see where Blue band says full afterburner F-18. I don't know what that is. Isaiah says it was foolish of Cunard. I think it was saying, was it foolish of Cunard of keeping Lusitania in passenger service during the outbreak of war? I don't think so, because even to this day, when there is war happening between countries, they still got to run, you know, passenger services on trains, airplanes, and ships, if there are ships. You know, so it's not at all unheard of. You know, life must go on even though there's war happening. And then, to be totally honest, it was considered shameful for a company to shoot down a passenger vessel. So, you know, I think Cunard just believed that Lusitania would be relatively safe because it would just not be morally acceptable to shoot down Lusitania. I say shoot down, but you know what I mean, destroy Lusitania. But yeah, you know, they underestimated, I guess, and didn't realize that Lusitania would become definitely a target. And during World War II, they didn't make that mistake again. You know, a lot of ships were laid up because they just didn't trust that, whichever the Axis forces would, not destroy passenger ships. So, yeah, I don't think it was foolish necessarily. It's, outside of war zones, life must go on. People have to go to work and stuff like that. So, yeah. Willem says, hey Alex, can I ask if Queen Mary was kept in service until today? Would she be popular as a topic in today's century? I think she would be only as popular as, like, talking about, SS Rotterdam or something like that, recent ocean liners. Just as popular as talking about the QE2, maybe. Really, what makes a ship remain popular is if people keep talking about something important about the ship. And so, to be honest, the Queen Mary is a more popular topic right now than she was 3 years ago. So, I think we've actually improved things that way. But, yeah, it's hard to say. Kelly McGuire says, who is the captain of Queen Mary? Queen Mary was served by, I think, almost 30 captains, something along those lines. So there were several captains. The very last captain of Queen Mary had operated her for almost 2 years, and that was Captain John Jones. Mike says, what happened to the dinosaurs in the train layout? I moved them. They were never meant to be a permanent feature of the train layout. They were just set there because I thought it'd be funny. But yeah, I moved them. Let's see. Evan says, going to see the Titanic exhibit this weekend. Awesome. I saw one in Buena Park a long time ago. It was very nice. Very sad, too. Okay, gonna do that. And empty this one out. Chris Butler says people expected brass to look nicer. Mint green more easily seen in low light conditions as human eye most sensitive to green light. That makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. It was a very it was a better visibility kind of thing, like a utilitarian reason for having it green. I think though, I think it would bother me if they were still green. The ones outside are still green. Right outside the bridge. Okay. Full hot water in there. Today is what do you call it? Earl Grey tea. So 426 on that. I will empty this out halfway again. Top it off with freshly boiled water to make sure it stays extra hot while I wait for the tea. Okay, so let's see. Mark says, a mate of mine is in LA right now and bringing me back a carton of Icebreakers mints. Yum. They are to an Aussie what Tim Tams are to Americans. Suggested a trip to Queen Mary to him. Wow, Icebreakers, really? I can't remember the last time I had an Icebreakers. Kelly asked who was the captain of the Queen Mary again. Okay. Willem says, what caused World War I and II and possibly what's going on right now, World War III? Let's not jinx anything. There's no World War III going on right now. World War I and II, I will leave other experts to explain that. You know, every time I open my mouth about World War I or World War II, I'm always corrected, so I don't even talk about about it, to be totally honest. Chris says, it's been said Lusitania failed to get 1,500 passengers to Britain, but succeeded in getting 1 million American soldiers to France by eventually getting the U.S. into the war. That makes sense. That's pretty much what I have understood as well. Hi Doc, how you doing? Wondering if you know how much about, or if you know much about the Essex shipwreck. I only read up on it today. I haven't heard of it before. Carl says, wishing you a happy new year from Clydebank, Scotland. Thank you for making such fantastic content. You're welcome, and happy new year to you as well. Let's see. I'll talk a bit about some of the content I'm working on right now in just a bit. Let's see here. Thank you, John. Kelly says, name all your favorite ships. I have a video on all my favorite ships. So you just look on my channel under Everything About Everything playlist, and it's on there. It's my top 10 favorite ships. Daniel says, hey Alex, I'm positive it's false, but I saw a video about one of the steam locomotives, I believe the Fred Gurley at Disney, is haunted by an engineer that got a heart attack while on the throttle. Yes, that video was made by my friend Chris, and the story, you know, ghosts are one of those things where, you know, people who don't believe in them will say that the story will be false. People who do believe in ghosts and do believe that stuff will say the story is true. So I'm not going to say whether the story is true or false, because that really depends on whether or not you believe ghosts exist. So, but I mean, there was an engineer, you know, I forget his name off the top of my head, but yes, there was an engineer of the Fred Gurley who was the head engineer for Disneyland Railroad back in the time. And yeah, he did have a heart attack while on the throttle of the Fred Gurley as it was going through the Grand Canyon diorama. And he died while the engine was in motion. And so, apparently there's stories of him haunting the locomotive. But yeah, he was a real person and he really did die. So that part is true. Ron Smith, former Queen Mary historian, was the person responsible for stripping the green seafoam green on the bridge telegraphs in 1997. Thank you, John. Jacob says, hey, Alex, do you have an Instagram? No, I do not. I'm not much of a social media person, and I never have been. Sean says, how often does Queen Mary blow its horn? As Steve later responded, 10 a.m., 12 p.m., 3 p.m., and 6 p.m. when she was open. Let's see. Willem says, so Queen Mary World War II facts are wrong. I researched the Queen Mary World War II facts. I did not research World War II in general. John says, you look dapper. Thank you so much, John. Kelly says, why was there the plane above the Queen Mary in one of those pictures? I didn't catch the picture going by, but planes flew over Queen Mary several times in her service years. Oh, it is long past due time for me to remove the tea from the thing. I should probably just dump out the tea and redo it, but I don't feel like doing that. I really want to have my tea. So, all right, let's see here. It's really hot. Okay. And then do some sugar. I usually put 1.5 demi-tasse spoons of sugar in there. John says, Disneyland Railroad should be narrated by you. Terrific and distinct speaking voice. Thank you, but I personally don't think my voice would be good for the Disneyland Railroad. I've always been very partial to kind of like the gruff, husky voices of like an older man narrating the Disneyland Railroad. There's been quite a few of them who've done that, and I think it always sounds really good, but a smooth voice like mine, I don't think it sounds good for Disneyland Railroad. Riker says, does Queen Mary still have any radars on board? I only know of certain radars, but I don't know about all of the ones that she used to have. But I do know that There was a directional radar which helped to steer the iron mic, which was on the bridge. That's still on the ship. And then I have seen 2 brand new radars attached to the ship, but those were not original to the Queen Mary. Those have been placed there sometime in the past few decades. I don't exactly know what they use them for. They look like the kind of radar that boats use to navigate, but the ship doesn't go anywhere. So I'm not really sure what they use them for, but those are up there. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't personally think any other radar equipment is on board the ship right now. Evan says, "Hi Alex, when are you and Steve going to talk about the Queen Mary's engine room?" Didn't we already do that? I could have sworn we did. Oh, Doc says, "I've never visited the Queen Mary. Was wondering if you'd stayed in the hotel. Can you describe it? Is it pretty upscale or rather ordinary?" Well, 2 things. 1, I've never stayed in the hotel portion of the Queen Mary. But 2, what I can tell you about it is based off of before the year 2020, when it was under private control. Right now it's under, the city's control, and we don't know exactly how extensively it's been refurbished. But from what I do know about the ship under private control, they charged upscale prices, but the experience was certainly not upscale. A lot of the rooms that they sell you do have a lot of original features left. It depends on each room, to be totally honest. Some rooms still have a lot of original features left. Some have very few original features left. It really just depends on what room you get. But that being said, the maintenance on the ship was really poor back then. The rooms were very dusty, very dirty. The plumbing sometimes didn't work. You didn't always get hot water. Your air conditioner sometimes didn't work. Sometimes the heater in the winter didn't work. So it really just depended on what room you got, what time of year you got it, and, under which company it was running. Because with the company before Urban Commons, they didn't have working hot water at all for a while. And you could see it on the Yelp reviews. People were going crazy. And they temporarily fixed that. The sewage on the ship, the original sewage tanks had I say original, but original to the hotel. The original hotel sewage tanks were leaking. They had to temporarily replace them with temporary sewage tanks. And I believe those temporary sewage tanks are still on the ship, still being used. So, to be totally honest, when it came to the maintenance and stuff of the ship, the experience was certainly not upscale. My friend who has stayed on the Queen Mary many times said that in the final days of the ship in operation, they completely stopped doing room service, so you couldn't even order food into your room. So yeah, we'll just have to see when the ship reopens how good the service is, and how I know the rooms in the last year have all been undergoing deep cleaning. They've been removing the furniture from the various rooms and cleaning the room out. They've been upgrading the door locks on the ship, so that way, you get functional door locks. They're in the process of installing a brand new hotel boiler, so that way you can get, consistent hot water in your rooms. So there's a lot of things that's going on that I think will really improve people's experience aboard the Queen Mary. And we'll just have to see, how much they are able to accomplish. Chris says, one space shuttle also overflew Queen Mary, Endeavour, on her way to retirement and museum. Queen Mary saluted her with her whistle. It was quite a scene. What's funny is, I remember when that happened because I was at Disney California Adventure with my father that day. At the time, we were both cast members with the company, so I remember we were told that the space shuttle would fly over that day, and so we knew exactly where to stand, so we went all the way out into California Adventure, waited for Endeavour to fly over. After it passed Disneyland, it continued on its way. Well, let's see. I know it made several turns, and I feel like it was heading southeast when we were there. It's hard to say. So maybe it had just come from the Queen Mary and then was heading over California Adventure. Yeah, I think that's what happened. I think it was just coming from the Queen Mary. But yeah, pretty cool. See you later, Willem. Steve says, need to go. Run to pick up dinner. Say goodbye to everyone. Talk later, Alex. See you later, Steve. Isaiah says, why the Florida thing for RMS Queen Elizabeth was unsuccessful and closed. From my understanding, the maintenance of the Queen Elizabeth, while it was under operation in Florida, was very lackluster. Basically, the organization that was taking care of the ship had only enough money to purchase the ship and bring her to Florida. They didn't have the money to maintain the hotel services, so the hotel portion couldn't even stay open, which was a huge drop in revenue. And then the tours on the ship were really not all that interesting. They just, tours are not just something you just walk people around. It takes some showmanship. And if you don't have the right showmanship, stuff seems boring. And so from what I heard, the tours on Queen Elizabeth were a bit lackluster, so not many people were coming to visit that. And it's possible that there was very little marketing for the Queen Elizabeth when she was in Florida, because marketing costs a lot of money. So there was just a lot of factors that led to Queen Elizabeth not being a popular attraction in Florida, and therefore they couldn't keep her around. Chris says Sam Elliott would be good for Disneyland Railroad voice. I think his voice would be too distractingly deep. I don't know. I just picture, we're now coming in to New Orleans Square Station. I'm just I don't know. I'd be sitting there laughing the whole time. Let's see. There were a few Disneyland Railroad narrators that I really liked. Thurl Ravenscroft was one of them. But my favorite was the one that they had removed, technically, when the railroad temporarily closed in 2015. And that was the narration done by Earl Bowen. And Earl Bowen's narration was really good. I liked it. I still like it to this day. I still wish it was there. So that was my favorite. But yeah, they replaced it, and they replaced it with the narration done by Bob Joles, and he's a very good voice actor. I mean, he's done so many different characters and stuff on TV and all that. I like it, but I just liked Earl Bowen's a bit more. Liners the Passes, I think with just some better use of the spaces on the Queen Mary, like her enormous public rooms and good management plan for the ship that wasn't ghost when needed. What? She would be better as a hotel. Ooh, that really confused me. I think with some better use of the spaces in the Queen Mary, like her enormous public rooms and good management plan for the ship that wasn't ghost related, she would be better as a hotel. Yes, exactly. Yeah. That would be it. That would be the key. I feel like No, I guess not. Okay. I thought I had missed a comment way back, but I don't think I did. A certain comment, I mean. Daniel says, hey, Alex, where would troops be placed on Queen Mary in World War II? In the hull or the decks? The troops in World War II were staying in various staterooms, cabins, public spaces. So they weren't put... they weren't, like, put, like, outside. I mean, they chose to sleep outside during the voyages in the hot weather. But they were not, like, stationed outside, like, oh, you have to sleep on deck, you know, like, wasn't that at all. A lot of them got, it's a really complex story, and I'm not sure I want to, like, repeat it all. I have a whole video about the troops in World War II. You can learn very specific stuff about how the troops had stayed aboard the ship during World War II in part 2 of my series called, Queen Mary in World War II. I think that's what it's called. It's the only series I have on it, so it won't be hard to find. But yeah, it's in part 2. That whole episode talks about the troops. And eventually I'm going to actually combine all 3 of those videos into one big video. So that'll happen sometime this year. But yeah, so that talks very specifically about where they stayed, what they ate, how they slept, all that stuff. So, because otherwise I'd be sitting here for a long time explaining it. Let's see. Kelly says, looking good, Alex. Thank you very much, Kelly. Oh, Steve's talking about Tech 101 Part 2 is the engine room. We will try to do it soon. Yeah. I see. Top impressive line says, Alex, do you have plans to visit Dubai, to visit the RMS Queen Elizabeth, the world's tallest skyscraper? The Burj Khalifa is also in Dubai. I have no plans to visit Dubai. It is incredibly far from where I live. It would be very, very, like, I would have to be, like, rich to go. There's no way. There is no way. It's already difficult enough trying to sail to the UK. Like, you know, all I'm trying to do is, like, save up money to, like, go to the UK to visit a bunch of places there. And that's already expensive enough, but then flying to Dubai and staying in Dubai. And to be totally honest, I'm not interested in seeing much in Dubai. I would be interested in seeing the QE2, but that's about it. Yeah, so I don't think it'll ever happen. I'm sorry. Goofy Roll says, sad state of Queen Mary hotel rooms remind me of the Space Needle. You pay a fortune for the name, even though it was an old and worn out place. Yeah. Let's see. You're welcome, Doc. Daniel, well, your comment to Goofy Rolls, I don't think Goofy Rolls is trying to be rude. I think he's just saying that the ship is kind of old and you're paying a lot of... I mean, even I will say... I've been saying it for a long time. You know, when the ship was open before 2020, it was really expensive and you didn't get much back from the experience. Everything was not in good maintenance. Everything was just run down and stuff. So I don't think it's rude to say that the Queen Mary was definitely not worth the money. I can tell you right now that when I went there in 2020, we spent a lot of money to get on the ship and almost nothing was open. You know, We were there on a weekend. They didn't have the Lego exhibit open. They didn't have most of the exhibits on the ship open. There was only one restaurant that day open, and it was not Sir Winston's, which was the one we really wanted to eat at. It was, and the ship was in terrible condition. The carpets smelled. They were torn up and taped down with duct tape. A lot of the railing banisters were dented, and it's been years since they had their brass shined. A lot of the wall paneling had faded varnish, and the varnish looked very cloudy, and the ship definitely did not look like the kind of place that you spend $500 a night to stay in, So yeah, I would have to agree with Goofy on that. I don't think he was trying to be rude. I think he's just saying, like, the reality is you're spending all this money and you're not getting back from it what you put into it. So yeah, they definitely need to take care of the ship. I know that a lot of work is going on right now to make sure the ship is in tip-top, condition for when people stay aboard. So hopefully it'll live up to people's expectations. Sean Tuber says, is Queen Mary opening soon? The rumor is that it'll be sometime in March. It could be beginning of March, could be the end of March. But that's the rumor that's going around right now. Chris says, after Disneyland, Endeavour flew over Queen Mary, and then Battleship USS Iowa, which elevated her big guns and salute. Oh, nice. Hey, Alex, great news. Does not open soon. Long Beach of Mayor saying California RMS Queen Mary, new painting on her Queen Mary. Oh, I do not understand that. Mike, how's it going? Moonzer says, hey, Alex, what if they repainted the Queen Elizabeth when it was going to be a hotel? When it was called Seawise University, it was going to be a hotel in Florida, right? No, Seawise University was a completely different thing. Seawise University happened after she left Florida. She was purchased by C.Y. Tung, and he moved her to Hong Kong to be refitted as Seawise University, a floating university that would have sailed around the Pacific, basically educating those who were in the program. So it would have been really cool. She would have kept sailing if she had remained as Seawise University. Jacob says, any plans for the railway this weekend? The model railroad? So I kind of want to do some stuff with it this weekend. Something's happening on Saturday. Or do I have Saturday free? If I have Saturday free, I'm going to have my dad come over, and then I need to do some plaster work on the mountain, because it's only got its first layer of plaster. It needs another layer of plaster. And then the river needs to be plastered with just one layer. And then once that's done, I have to finish working on the engine house. The engine house is about 50% complete. So the engine house needs to be finished. And then while I'm working on the engine house, my father can finish working on the farmhouse. So I don't know if you can see, but right over my shoulder is a little red building. That is a completed building. It has two different businesses in it. One is a telegraph office, one is a bank. So he finished that, and so there will be a video showing from start to finish how he did it. So the next building I'm going to have him work on is painting the farmhouse, which was a full piece that I bought at a model train show, and he's going to paint that up so it will look nice. And then, yeah, so that might be something we'll do this Saturday. There was work done. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's like pink foam on the layout behind me. So I bought some materials, and I was able to continue working on the model railroad by installing more hills and scenery and stuff in the background. So that's all got to be cut down and shaped and everything. And I also added extra track to the layout too, because I had an extra track switch and extra rails laying around, and I thought it'd be terrible for this to go to waste. Those track switches are like $30. So I'm like, I'm not going to let that go to waste. So I went and installed it on the layout. And so there's now an extra area with track, and it's isolated, electrically isolated. So that way I can put a third locomotive on the train layout without having issues. So yeah, pretty neat. There'll be updates and stuff like that, but if we do something this Saturday to work on the train layout, then I will try to live stream part of it so you can see what we're doing. But otherwise, it will be filmed for various updates and stuff on the channel. Shibert says, "Hi, Alex. Do they still sound the ship's whistle every day?" They were up until it closed in 2020, but I don't know if they have been while it's been closed. I don't know, because I'm not down in Long Beach. Yeah, I don't know. That's a pretty cool story, Munzer. Chris Butler says, "Have you chosen when you're going to sail on a Queen Mary 2? No, I still have to save up money. So, I can't make any reservations until I save up the money for it." Hey, Jimmy. Today we're having cucumber sandwiches. We have chocolate-covered McVitie's. And then yesterday I made some fresh Scottish shortbread. And then the tea today is Earl Grey. Yeah, Mark, yeah, I agree. I mean, Dubai is a long distance from here just to visit the QE2. I would love to see the QE2, but it's just, it's a lot of effort to get there just to see the QE2. So, yeah, I don't think I'll ever be able to go. Not unless she gets sold or something and moved back to the UK, then that's a lot easier than getting to Dubai. Chris Surfaz. Yes, I've heard of Oppenheimer. I haven't watched it, though. See you later, Kelly. Chris Butler says, Seawise University was intended to sail first to Japan and then to Long Beach, where she would have been reunited with the newly opened Queen Mary in March of 1972. Wow. That would have been an amazing reunion. Hello, Tyler. You didn't miss much. Just hanging out here. Oppenheimer developed the Trinity device, the first atomic bomb. Alright, so have more sandwiches. Kelly says, when is your next live stream? Well, like I was saying, I might do a live stream on Saturday for when I'm working on the train. I was gonna say working on the railroad, but yeah, working on working on the railroad with my dad. Maybe on Saturday. That's still a maybe. Sunday should be the next tea time live stream. So, yeah. I think so, yeah. Boop GT says, what was the fastest speed Queen Mary went? The fastest documented speed Queen Mary ever went was 39 knots. But that was under extreme circumstances. It was during World War II. They were trying to get through a submarine-infested area. U-boat-infested area, basically. So, yeah. So, but that is technically the fastest documented speed Queen Mary ever went. Jimmy, no, I don't read manga. My dad owns some manga, but not a lot. Yeah. Older manga, though. I don't think anything too new. Well, I don't know. My dad always surprises me with stuff I don't even know about him. The other day I found out that before I was born he worked as a bus driver or something like that. I was like, what? I was like, how do I not know this about you? Boop GT says, how many people was the max the Queen Mary ever held? This is the cool part because she owns the record. 16,683 souls. I'll repeat that. 16,683 souls. No ship, before or after, has ever held that many people all at once. No ship. So Queen Mary has that record. Jimmy, yeah, I've heard of Empress of Ireland. I don't know much about it, but I have heard of it. I've seen a few pictures. I know it's Canadian, but that's about the extent of my knowledge. Jacob says, what ships would you recommend riding? A easy, medium, and hard quiz bowl questions for college. I don't know. I'm still very new to ships and ocean liners. I'm still barely learning about them, so I really couldn't tell you. Chris says, on my old layout, I built 2 HO scale nuclear waste rail cars. They were very interesting to build for me. Oh, nice. Yeah. So I wanted to talk a bit about content that's coming this month. I've been unlucky twice so far this month, and it's only been 4 days into January. But basically, originally I had planned that this week would be a video about Mauretania. And you guys have heard from my other tea times, I've been talking about this, that the first week of January would have a video about Mauretania. But then another YouTube channel published a long video, extensive video about Mauretania. And the way I do things is I don't like to publish a video about the exact same topic right after someone else does. Because, one, it looks like I'm copying them. and two, people may not necessarily watch it because they've already seen somebody else do a video on it recently. You know, it's one thing if it's a, I don't know, like a cinnamon challenge where like one person posts a video of somebody like eating cinnamon and then another person does the cinnamon challenge. You know, people will watch multiple of those kinds of videos. But when you're talking about like a history video of a ship, people will not watch that in such a close period of time. There needs to be time between those videos for people to watch. So I had to cancel my Mauretania video that I was going to have out this week because someone had posted it on another channel. I just didn't want to like steal the thunder or have my thunder stolen, basically. Either way, you know, I'm trying to like give some nice leeway. So I'm currently working on a different video subject. Chris, the Mauretania 1907. But here's the other kicker. Next week was supposed to be my video about the Johann von Oldenbarnevelt, also known as TSMS Laconia. It was a ship that sank in 1963 after catching fire. And it was a huge disaster. And I've been working on months about it. You guys have been hearing me for like the past 6 months. I've been talking about this video. And I was finally ready to publish it next week. And then today, Oceanliner Designs published his video about TSMS Laconia. And it's a much longer video than mine. And there's a lot more information in his video. So after I saw that this morning, I was kind of like, well, now I can't publish my video next week because it's too soon. And frankly, there probably could be a better way to do my video. So yeah, so the Johann von Oldenbarnevelt video, also known as TSMS Laconia video, that I was hoping to have out next week will not happen either. This reminds me a lot of what happened, you know, when I was going to do my Spruce Goose video. I had to wait quite a while because while I was ready to make the Spruce Goose video, another popular channel had made a video and it was too soon for me to publish mine. So I literally waited for half a year before I finally made the Spruce Goose video and then published it. So I wanted to apologize about that, folks, because I know people have been waiting for my Mauretania video and they've been waiting for my Johann von Oldenbarnevelt video. Both those things were going to be, you know, part of early January, but I will have to change up the thing, you know. So yeah, but there will be other videos. So, I'm also in my head kind of considering whether or not it's worth it to keep doing these extensive documentaries about these ships, because this keeps happening. Every time I am ready to publish a documentary on something, it's someone else beats me to the punch. It's not their fault. And there's no way they would know that I'm about to publish my video. It's just that, I guess, you know, as they say, great minds think alike, you know, we all have the idea at the same time. So, you know, so in my head, I'm kind of like, you know, I'm working for months and months and months to make these videos, and then I have to wait another half year before I can publish it. So I'm kind of like, maybe it's just best that I don't do these huge documentaries anymore. Maybe I should just do topic videos about very specific things about these ships and very specific instances of very specific stories, as opposed to like a full rounded like documentary about a full ship, you know. So yeah. Frederick says, any word on replacement aluminum lifeboats for the Queen Mary in the future, like the funnels were, I know, just for aesthetics? There is no word on any replacement for the lifeboats, because that is a very low priority thing in comparison to the stuff that needs to be done on the ship right now. So it will probably be years and years before we see replacements to the lifeboats. So yeah. Chris says, I think you should do a video about Kaiser Wilhelm der Grosse, a less popular ship. That's just a thing. Like, it'll take me months to research that, and by the time I do, what if someone else publishes a video right then? Then I have to wait to publish my video. So that's kind of like, I want to choose something that is so specific that it's very unlikely someone else will be publishing that exact same thing at that exact same time. So, yeah, I don't know. It would have to be a specific story about something that happened during the time the ship was around. I found a story today, which I don't think anybody has made a video about. So I'm kind of like, ooh, maybe I'll just kind of do this story. Like, it's an interesting story, and it involves Mauretania. So I was kind of like, this is a good one. So maybe I'll do that for next week before someone else snatches the story. But it's a good story, and so I was kind of like, ooh, and there's video footage of it. So I'm actually kind of excited. Yeah, I'm going to research that and see if I can get that out next week. This week will be a different video. Let's see. Jacob says, have you ever considered making a video on the Cumbres and Toltec Railroad? There's a lot of amazing history that could make a cool video or videos. Yes, actually. I have been considering that. I'm looking to make some kind of railroad video this month. And so I'm kind of looking at my different options and trying to decide which one is best to start with. So, but yes, that is definitely on my list of videos to make about the Cumbres and Toltec Railroad, also about the Durango and Silverton Railroad, that kind of thing. So, but I'm looking at that. But I wouldn't expect to see a whole history video. Like, don't expect to see the history of the Durango and Rio Grande Western. That will take a long time because that takes months and months and months of research and gathering images to show you guys. So, but what I would expect in terms of railroad videos is little tidbits of the history, little snapshots in time. And so that's kind of what I'm aiming for at the moment because again, when you're starting from scratch and you don't know anything when you're going in, it'll take months and months and months of hard research just to kind of catch up to where other people are, you know, because those people have read books, watched tons of videos. They've done the research, they just don't realize it. They've been doing it for a long time. So, yeah. Let's see. Mark says, with all due respect to fellow YouTube channels, I would much prefer, in fact, only consider watching your presentations, Alex. I truly hope you publish your videos in the very near future. Yeah, it won't be the very near future, that's for sure. But, you know, it does make me feel better that you like my stuff, but I'm also, you know, like I said, I don't blame them. There's no way they knew that I was going to publish the videos. Like, you know, they just publish their videos and put them out there and, you know... So, I'll just have to wait, you know. But, yeah, that's fine. Daniel says, hey, Alex, did you watch the video that Ocean Liner Designs did? And the other channel? If so, did you like it? I did watch the Mauretania video the other channel put out. I don't remember the name of the channel. Nautical Study, I think, he did a Mauretania video. I watched that one. The Ocean Liner Designs video, I haven't watched it yet. It's 34 minutes long. I didn't have that kind of time today to watch that because, you know, I've got to have a video out by Friday, so I don't have time to watch videos right now. I have to work on my videos. So, but I will eventually watch it, yeah. Tyler Frederick says, I just had a thought. If the pool area were to collapse, would Queen Mary be declared unsafe? No. that would be an isolated area. So I think it's very important for me to say that will not happen. The pool area of Queen Mary is not in that kind of shape. It's not. It's a very different scenario from what's actually happening to that room. I know a lot of people are saying that the Queen Mary's pool room is in danger of collapsing. It's not that kind of collapse. It's the collapse of the pool tank, which is inside of the cofferdam, but not the pool room itself. But yeah, so, but if the whole pool room were to collapse, let's say, no, the ship would not be declared unsafe. I mean, they would evacuate the ship, have engineers check it out, but the engineers would basically say, like, oh, well, this area certainly does need some attention, but the rest of the ship should be fine, you know. So, because the way the ocean liners were built, not all areas of the ship rely on other areas to be there for there to be stability. You know what I mean? So. Oh, Mark, I'm sorry to hear about the music-based live stream. Chris, I have watched the video of Aquatania in a hurricane. I've actually downloaded that footage as well. It's pretty cool, actually. I have a few pieces of footage of various ships in storms. Frederick said, Alex, if you wanted to do a documentary about Normandy, I can provide you my color footage from her 1938 Rio trip. Normandy is one of the ships on my list that probably will not get very much attention on my channel. There are certain ships that I try to avoid because they're so mainstream that people could literally, you know, run circles around me with their information about it. So, and, you know, if I say anything the wrong way, I will not hear the end of it. So Normandy is one of those ships that I pretty much don't touch. Ozzy says, can they rebuild the pool room on Queen Mary? Well, there's no need to rebuild the pool room. There's nothing wrong with the room itself. There's something wrong with the tank that held the water for the pool room, but there's nothing wrong with the pool room itself. It just, you know, it needs some aesthetic refreshing for sure, but yeah. Daniel says, any thoughts of doing a Casey Jones video? No, I don't want to do Casey Jones. Let's see. Jimmy says, what video are you making right now? I'm afraid if I say it, then it'll jinx it, and then somebody else will make a video on the same exact thing. So I'm kind of like afraid to say it, because the other videos that you know, people published before I published them, those were videos that I told you what they were about. I'm not saying that you know, that the YouTubers knew I was making it. I'm just saying that I feel like I jinxed myself with it because I announced it before I made it. So I'm a very superstitious person. So I think I jinxed myself. So I'm gonna try not to jinx myself this time and not tell you what the video is about. Because, you know, actually, this is a curse I've had that goes kind of back to my days doing Disneyland videos. Before I would release a video about a Disneyland ride, something would happen somewhere around the world to that same ride. I made a video about the Jungle Cruise, and right after I did that, one of the boats on the Jungle Cruise in Florida sank. I did a video about the Matterhorn, and all of a sudden a huge chunk of concrete fell off the Matterhorn. I made a video about Big Thunder Mountain, and then there was like some kind of technical issue that caused Big Thunder Mountain to be closed for a week. You know, I did a video about Tarzan's treehouse at Disneyland, and next thing I know, like a day or two later, there was some guy had like jumped on the bridge on Tarzan's treehouse and broke through the wooden bridge. He didn't fall, thankfully, but he did break through the wooden bridge. So I have this weird curse that like stuff happens when I make videos about stuff. And so, yeah, it's I think it's carried over into my ocean liner content. Now I announce a video, and then next thing I know, like all these videos about the same exact topic suddenly come out, and I've jinxed myself. Like, you know, it's like fate is like, aha, you know. So Jacob says, you may also like the LA Live Steamers Railroad. Sorry, not trying to spam, just suggesting ideas. I probably won't make a video about the LA Live Steamers, but I've been to the LA Live Steamers. I've been there a few times. Very fun. Kelly McGuire says, do you know what they're going to do with the SS United States? As far as I know, there's no plans currently. It's just going to keep sitting there. Tyler Frederick, wow, you got the whole Little House on the Prairie series. Jeez. That was a show my mom used to like to watch. And Chris Butler says, there's no rides at Disneyland, Alex. Only attractions. Well, except for Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Or Big Thunder Mountain, which is the wildest ride in the wilderness. So, there are a few rides at Disneyland. Alright, let's see. Another one of these. Well, actually, I want to... Is this still hot? It's not hot. Wow, it's got so cold. Well, it has been an hour. So, I'll just pour it. I really like Earl Grey tea so much, I don't like to waste it. Chris Butler says, oh, Alex, you got me. Yeah, you know, used to be a cast member at Disneyland. I know all the ins and outs. And then very soon, like within a couple weeks, I'm going to do a live stream of, you know, roaming around Titanic Honor and Glory, the demo. So people like to watch that once in a while, and it's been a while since I did it, so that'll be another one that's coming. Mary says, I'm late. Sorry, what were we eating today? Oh, today I just finished my my cucumber sandwiches. I'm working on the homemade Scottish shortbread right now, and then I've got the chocolate-covered McVitie's next. So I'm slowly making my way through the thing. I've got Earl Grey tea with me. Let's see. Daniel says, hey Alex, here is my thing about videos about ghost hunting on Queen Mary. If there were more liners preserved, wouldn't they have some deaths in their career? I think it's just Queen Mary is a famous ship. Well, yeah, a lot, you know, but I mean, there's not very many ocean liners left, so, you know, very few have gone the whole ghost route, you know. But you also have to remember that the whole marketing of Queen Mary as a ghost ship was entirely Disney's idea in 1989. and it's stuck ever since because it's making the ship a little bit more money than it would make if there wasn't a ghost aspect to the ship. I'm not 100% against the whole, like, ghost marketing. I just wished there wasn't so much emphasis on the ghosts of the ship, you know? But as for the YouTube videos, I mean, those same ghost hunters that ghost hunt on Queen Mary, they go to other places. You know, they go to the Stanley Hotel, they go to the Hotel del Coronado, you know. They go to a lot of them are hotels, aren't they? A lot of the haunted places are hotels. But yeah, kind of interesting when you think about it. Like, those are the places that make a lot of money. Haunted hotels. There might be some kind of correlation there. But anyway, yeah, but, you know, Winchester Mystery House, all that kind of stuff. Winchester Mystery House is an interesting one. I want to make a video about that someday because everybody who knows about the house knows the whole story. Oh, she went crazy because she was so distraught over the death of her husband, and she thought that, you know, that she had to build this crazy labyrinth-like mansion to hide from the spirits of those who were killed by her husband's rifles. But that is not the reason why she built the house. And the real reason, I think, is much more interesting. I mean, it's not like crazy. It's not like, you know, a reason that makes a Hollywood movie, but it's an interesting reason. And so that's one of those things where I'm kind of like, that's a video I want to make, because so many people think she made the house because she was crazy and distraught, but in reality, she loved architecture and she needed something to do. But there was a cool story as to how she built it. So, you know, yeah, really great stuff, you know. Let's see. Ozzy says Alex didn't burn his fingers in the new year tea time. You know, I think my fingers are getting used to the heat of the teapot, so I don't burn my fingers anymore. It feels hot, but not as scorching as it was. Chris says, interesting question if Rotterdam has ghost stories. She's another preserved liner. I doubt the Dutch go in for that sort of stuff. Yeah, there's certain countries in the world that they really don't focus very much on ghosts. Like, it's not a thing. In some countries, ghosts are considered fantasy, which is why, you know, Hong Kong Disneyland, they never built a haunted mansion. I mean, a haunted mansion is one of those things that goes into every Disney park that is built. But for Hong Kong, they didn't build one because it is just not a thing in Chinese culture. Like, they just don't think of it. They don't think of death the same way that we do. So it wouldn't have made sense to them. So they did actually something more interesting, which I think, well, not more interesting, but something that I think was an interesting way of going about it. They created the Mystic Manor, which is an enchanted house, which I thought was pretty cool. You know, in Tokyo, the Haunted Mansion is located in Fantasyland, because to them, stories of ghosts are fantasy, not reality. So the Haunted Mansion in Tokyo Disneyland is in Fantasyland, you know. So it's interesting, you know, different cultures, they, you know, they think of ghosts and spirits in completely different ways. Frederick says, what are your thoughts about the Empress of Britain? I do not know much about it. Same thing as the Empress of Ireland. Empress of Britain, I know, was also Canadian. I can kind of picture it in my head, like maybe one image of it. I really don't know much about ships. I'm just barely learning about ships, and I'm taking it one baby step at a time because it's a whole lot of information to try to soak in all at once. Yeah. Mary M says, spiritualism was very popular at the time, Mrs. Winchester, and saying the spirits told me to do this rather than I think we should do this because she was merely a woman, had more weight. Yeah, I mean, you know, in the real story of why she built the place, the whole idea that the spirits told her to build the house, that was made up by a newspaper in San Jose, because she was a very famous, very wealthy individual, and nobody understood what she was doing in that house. Like, you know, she was an enigma, you know, like she was building this giant house and she never let anybody over to see it. So everybody made up all these stories and stuff. But her closest neighbors vouched for her and said she's just an ordinary woman who's got a lot of money and a lot of time on her hands, and she's just doing what she loves to do, which is build houses, you know, construct architecture. She was a huge architecture fanatic, and she was always trying out different things to try different ways to make something look good, make something make sense, you know. But from the outside of the house, when people were looking at it, it didn't make sense to them. And in fact, part of the whole spiritual thing about it, you know, about the doors that lead to nowhere and stuff like that, a lot of those, the reason why there's doors and stairways and windows that lead to nowhere actually has very little to do with the spirits and more to do with the great earthquake of 1906. A lot of the house was destroyed during the earthquake, and Mrs. Winchester was very old by then, and she did not have the energy to rebuild those areas back. So instead of rebuilding them back, she just fixed them up enough that the water, you know, the rainwater wouldn't leak into the house. And so what you're left with are doors, windows, and stairs that lead to nowhere, you know. So there's a lot of that stuff. I thought it was very, very interesting, and a fascinating story, and it takes away that spiritual sensationalism that everybody repeats about the house. So I definitely want to make a video about that. I better do it before before like somebody else makes it, because it's one of those ideas where I'm like, ooh, not many people have made videos about that. There is one YouTuber that's already made a video about that, and it's really more of a discussion video. So I want to make something that's a little bit more documentary-like. The funny thing is, though, that getting images for the inside of the house is very difficult because they do not allow filming or photography inside the Winchester Mystery House. But I happen to have access to footage of the inside of the house. So I'm probably going to use that. I've never been to the house. I've never been inside the house, at least I should say. I've never been inside the house. But I have been given access to footage of the inside of the house. So I'm probably going to use that to make my video. And I can't reveal anything more about the origins of that footage. But, yeah. Pretty cool. Ken says the JVO seemed like a pariah in the ocean liner community, probably because of the epic name. Also not particularly good looking, but the story is quite sad. The video today showed the reality well. Yeah, it is a really sad story. It's really just unbelievable. Like, yeah. Daniel says, how did cameramen not slip and fall on ocean liners during a rough storm? I don't know. I mean, how do people that go train surfing not fall off the trains and get run over by them? Or how is it that people who are, you know, on speedboats filming themselves flying across the water not fall into the water? It's just, you know, someone just holds on for dear life, I guess, you know. Let's see. Alex, what does the Queen Elizabeth have that Queen Mary doesn't? And vice versa. What does Queen Elizabeth have that Queen Mary doesn't? I mean, I don't know if you're expecting a very groundbreaking answer out of me, but I mean, basically, like, Queen Elizabeth had, you know, certain areas of the ship had higher ceilings than Queen Mary. Certain areas of the ship connected better. You know, there was there was more, it permitted more of a traffic flow, such as on the sports deck. Queen Elizabeth was a little bit more modern. She was designed with the, you know, the late 30s Art Deco style, so she was a bit more modern than Queen Mary in that sense. I'm pretty sure that since she was never fully decorated until after the war, which, you know, would have been 1946-47, pretty sure that they actually took advantage of the modern streamline Art Deco style to cover her, because some of her design on the interiors does not look like 1930s Art Deco. It looks like 1940s Art Deco. So I think that actually they altered some of the interior designs. This is a whole separate topic, though. You know, Queen Elizabeth was also designed to be fuel efficient, or basically she was, but, you know, in comparison to Queen Mary, Queen Elizabeth was the, you know, Toyota Prius, or the, you know, hybrid, if you will, hybrid car of the ocean liner world, because she was designed to be very, very fuel efficient in comparison to Queen Mary, at least. Which has led to a lot of rumors that, oh, Queen Elizabeth was more efficient, so she could be faster than Queen Mary. But I've asked a lot of historians on it, and frankly, you know, I was speaking to historian Bill Sauter, and he told me, he's like, hey, I asked two former Queen Elizabeth captains, Captain John Jones and Captain, I can't remember the other name. He says, I asked two former captains of Queen Elizabeth, was the Queen Elizabeth capable of going faster than Queen Mary, or did Cunard ask the captains not to go faster than Queen Mary, so that way Queen Mary could remain the fastest, between the two at least? And the captains both said no. When we went full speed, the ship was put full out. She just could never surpass the speed of Queen Mary. And that makes sense, because when you look at the engineering of the Queen Elizabeth, she was not designed to compete with the Queen Mary for maximum speed. She was only designed to maintain the same service speed as the Queen Mary. And the service speed is certainly not the maximum. So Queen Elizabeth was just designed to be more fuel efficient, but because of that, she just didn't have the steam volume necessary to go faster than Queen Mary. So, but as for what Queen Mary has that Queen Elizabeth doesn't, this is probably something I might be more comfortable answering, because I know more about Queen Mary than I do about Queen Elizabeth. But Queen Mary was more traditional in a certain sense. No, I guess that's the wrong thing to kind of point out, because that doesn't really matter. But let's see, Queen Mary. I don't know. Queen Mary had a nicer look, in my opinion, but that's my opinion. That's not really like a fact, you know. What did Queen Mary have? Oh, well, again, it's superficial. Queen Mary had a more spacious first-class swimming pool room, you know. But some people would say, oh, that's a downside, because, you know, it was. Some people would say Queen Mary's pool room was too grand. You know, they preferred Queen Elizabeth's because it wasn't so big and spacious. I don't know why, but I prefer Queen Mary's swimming pool room. Queen Mary could go faster than Queen Elizabeth, but we already talked about that. Yeah, I don't know. They were so very similar in terms of what they offered to their passengers. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. There really isn't anything besides superficial stuff like the way something looks or how big a room is, you know. They were very similar in that way that, you know, there were just little tiny trade-offs here and there, but ultimately they were very, very similar ships in terms of what they offered to people. Ken, thank you so much for the donation. Okay. Chris Butler says, well, Queen Mary exists for a start. That's true. Queen Mary exists. Queen Elizabeth doesn't. Tyler says, Alex, do you really believe in curses? I'm not a superstitious person, but if I believe in curses, I would turn parts of the ground to quicksand. I don't believe in, like, magic curses. Like, I don't believe I could be like, hocus pocus, and then all of a sudden you'll turn into a llama, you know? Like, I don't believe in that kind of stuff, but I believe that, I guess it's an extension of my belief in karma, you know? Like, you reap what you sow kind of thing, but it's an extension of that. So I think that I believe that there is such thing as jinxing something, you know? You talk all about something, and next thing you know, you ruin it for yourself. You know, and like I said, you know, it was really unexplainable. Every time I would publish a video about a certain attraction or ride at Disneyland, all of a sudden something would happen to that attraction or ride somewhere in the Disney parks in the world, and it was just like weird. You know, so yeah, you know. I also have another type of curse, which is every time I find a new restaurant that I really like and they serve something I really like, either the food that I really like from that place no longer is served, or the restaurant itself closes, or they change it. That's another curse I have. Especially when I was still going to Disneyland a lot, because Disneyland does not have a lot of foods that I like to eat, but every once in a while, a restaurant would serve something that I really enjoy. And as soon as I got used to ordering it, they stopped serving it. And, you know, or the restaurant would close or something. And, you know, and that happened every single time. So, yeah, it's for those reasons that I kind of believe that I do have little curses. But it's not like I have superpowers or anything. It's just, I don't know. I can't explain it. It's just stuff happens, you know. But, let's see. Ken says, between Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth, as much as I'd love to have both in existence, I think we are lucky to have Queen Mary, as her design is more in tune with Olympic-class liners and other early liners than Queen Elizabeth. That's totally true. It goes back to what I was just saying, that Queen Mary looks more traditional. You know, Queen Mary has that forward well deck. You know, she has the very large, what do you call them, cowl vents on the top of the ship. She's got the 3 funnels as opposed to Queen Elizabeth's 2 funnels. You know, ow, ooh, I stubbed my toe. You know, and Queen Elizabeth's interiors, the grandeur of some of those interiors, which Queen Elizabeth may not have in certain places, reminds me a lot of the Victorian grandeur. You know, the idea of the grand staircase. You know, like, really, before the 1900s, ocean liners, they had big staircases. Like, you know, you look at Oceanic from 1899, they had a nice big staircase. They called it the grand staircase. You know, even Mauretania had a first-class grand staircase, but it was really just a main staircase. But you look at Olympic-class ships, they had a true, honest-to-goodness grand staircase. Even SS Rex did as well. So you look at things like that, and those are examples of the grandeur of those liners. And Queen Elizabeth, or Queen Mary, has that in certain aspects. You know, you could say that the top of Queen Mary's grand staircase is the grand part about it. You could also say that, you know, Queen Mary having the really big first-class pool room is part of that grandeur. Queen Elizabeth didn't have that, She had a much smaller swimming pool room, so you know there were just certain things, little tidbits here and there that that Queen Mary just had over all that I think makes her look more like a traditional liner. Yeah. I've heard people describe Queen Mary's interior design as boring. I don't understand that, because there are other ships that I think look way more boring on the interiors that they think are nicer. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't think Queen Mary's interiors are boring. They are a beautiful Art Deco design, you know. But some people just don't like Art Deco. They prefer the Edwardian styles of the Olympic class, which is fine. That's all just opinion, you know. Chris says, speaking about rail suffering, have you ever watched Shy? Oh, rail surfing. Shy. He does similar things like rail hopping. Shy. Actually, when I was saying people who do rail surfing, I was actually thinking about Shy. Yeah, I used to watch his channel a lot. Let's see. Jacob says, how is your railroad running with the new track stuff? I have not applied the new track stuff yet. I got it in the mail, and it's over there. I have not applied it to the track yet because when I apply it, I'm going to have to clean all the wheels on every single piece of rolling stock I have first. Then I'll have to clean all the track. And once all that's clean, then I can apply the grease to the rails. But the thing is, I'm still constructing the railroad, and so every time I do something that might dirty up the wheels, or, you know, let's say I'm, you know, working with plaster or something, like dust will land on the rails and become like mud. And so I just kind of realized, I'm like, I can't apply it yet. I have to wait. So yeah. It's one of those things where I was like, darn it, I have to wait. Jacob says, there was a restaurant I really liked, and it got shut down by the health department. I have been too scared to look into why it got shut down. I know that, yeah. There was a restaurant, I'm not going to say which one, but there was a restaurant I really liked ordering from. I always ordered takeout from it. I really, really liked it. And then one day, my dad and I were going to go to it, like physically go to it and eat there. And when I got there, the whole place was so filthy. I was like, this is where I've been ordering from? I never wanted to go back, and I have not ordered from that place again. You know, not a lot of people know this about me, but I went to culinary school. I used to be a pastry chef and a regular chef. I've got one of those really rare talents of being able to both cook regular food and make some really crazy pastries. That's actually a rare talent, to have both those talents. But, you know, so my background is in food and kitchens and stuff. And I cannot stand dirty kitchens. When I ran various cafes and stuff like that, my kitchens were sparkling clean. I could not stand for them to be dirty. And that came from not just culinary school, because in culinary school, it was like boot camp. It was like you had to scrub those floors, you know, every night. But it wasn't just from that. It was also because, you know, when I first started off in kitchens, it was at Disneyland. And Disneyland's kitchens are so clean, you know, hypothetically speaking, you could eat off the floor. Like, they are that clean. And they keep them sparkling clean. So I was used to basically deep cleaning the kitchen every night after work. You know, after you do that hard 8-hour shift of cooking food for people. Then at the end of the night, you had to clean up the kitchen, and you were on ladders scrubbing the hood system. You were, on your hands and knees, like cleaning behind the stoves. It was, this is what other restaurants would consider deep cleaning, which is something they schedule maybe once a month if they're on top of that. But at Disney, we did that every day. So we almost never had to schedule a deep cleaning because we deep cleaned it almost every night. So that is how I'm used to running a kitchen. And I could never stand those dirty kitchens. And so even to this day, even though I'm not in the food industry anymore, when I go to restaurants and I see a dirty kitchen, I'm just like, how? How can you let this happen? Cleaning is one of those things that's not hard to do. It's tough work. It makes you sweat. But it's not a difficult task to clean something, So, yeah, I was always a tough chef in that sense, because I did not let people let my kitchen fall into dirty or disrepair. So, yeah. Let's see. Daniel says, the scariest thing that happened to me on Queen Mary is no joke. When me and my dad were on the bridge, without warning, the horn came off and jumped, and I jumped and fell to the ground. Oh, geez. Yeah, the horn can actually really frighten people. I've seen it, I've seen people jump when it happens. Delta says, do you have a picture of Queen Elizabeth's shopping area? On my computer I do, but right in front of me I don't. Chris says, I thought I would never find another person who has ever watched Shy. Yeah, I watched him. Mary says, Alex, are there any plans for Queen Mary to do any reenactment events like before the pandemic? Well, first of all, thank you so much for the donation, but do any reenactment events? Reenactment? I don't know what you mean, like a reenactment events. I don't know. Could you be more specific? Because I don't know what a, like, a Renaissance fair is a reenactment event, isn't it? Like, I don't know what you mean. Let's see. Chris says, because most restaurants are lazy with doing deep cleaning. It's true. A lot of restaurants are lazy with doing deep cleaning. Yeah, I read a story where a fish market in Seattle was recently raided by some kind of government agency because they were selling these non-native invasive crab species. And there's various reasons why they're not allowed to sell them, and I'm not going to go into it. But the idea is these specific crabs they were not allowed to sell. When the government agency came in to stop them, they said, like, where did you get these crabs from? Like, you shouldn't be selling this. There's literally a list of what kinds of crabs, native species, that you can sell. And apparently this fish market was just like, oh, we don't know. We didn't know that these were green crabs. We didn't know that we weren't supposed to sell this, and we didn't know that, who this person was that sold it to us. And when I read that, being formerly in the food industry, I know that they are lying because seafood is tracked so well. First of all, you could get in so much trouble from the government if you do not keep track of your seafood, where you bought it, who you're selling it to, how long it's been alive, what temperature it's being kept at, and then on top of that, like, you know, being a fish market, you have to know what you can and cannot sell. So I'm like, this fish market is lying. Oh, we didn't know we're not supposed to sell this. Like, you're a fish market. Your one job is to know what you're allowed to sell and not allowed to sell. Oh, things like that. Sorry, I get so worked up over things like that. Everyone's like, calm down, Alex, calm down. Daniel says, does the Forney still squeak? Yes, it's squeaking right now. I didn't oil it before the live stream because it was actually quiet before the live stream. Yeah. Yeah, it's squeaking. I like my trains so much. Alrighty. My tea is probably frosty cold right now. But that's okay. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe Saturday I'll work more on the layout. I can see the headlight on the locomotive blinking, which tells me the track is already dirty again. I cleaned the track before we started this live stream. Cleaned it. But it's like I was saying in the last live stream, it's not dirt. It's oxidation and a little bit of soot from the micro arcing, which is why I bought that special grease. So I'll eventually have to put that on the tracks, but I just didn't feel like cleaning the tracks, cleaning all the wheels, only for it to get dirty again while I'm working on the layout. So I think once all the plaster work on the layout is finished and I'm ready to start painting the layout, I think then it'll be safe for me to apply the grease to the rails. I think that's when it'll be safe for me to do that. So squeaky. I also collected a bunch of sticks for the layout because there's going to be logs, there's going to be dead trees, there's going to be, you know, tree debris around the layout. So I collected various sizes of sticks with very specific bark on it. That'll help decorate the layout when I'm ready. I'm getting so close to having this layout painted for you guys, so at least you won't see it all white anymore, you know. But first, I have to finish doing the second layer of plaster on the mountain, then apply a layer of plaster to the river. Yeah, so lots of exciting stuff coming to the layout. It's so nice because I feel like I've been staring at it for so long and it was just so basic. There wasn't really anything to look at, nothing to see. And now it's all kind of coming together. And then, I know he's not here right now, but K4RNA, if you eventually watch this live stream, you know, your donations towards the trees have definitely been going into force now because I purchased some supplies to build trees. So eventually, when that step is ready to happen, I can start putting together trees. Chris, it's good to hear that you kept your station at Golden Corral clean. Daniel says, I believe Mr. Squeakers should be the channel mascot. Yeah. Chris says, Alex, would you do weathering on your layout? That was one of my favorite things on my old layout. Yeah, there will be some things that are weathered and stuff like that. So I have to buy some weathering powders that will match the groundwork of, you know, what I'm doing. So some stuff will be weathered. I'm not a person who's very into heavy weathering, though. But there will be light weathering to everything. I don't want everything to look too old, because at one point during the past, all this stuff was new. But yeah, so there will definitely be weathering, and I'm trying to think if there's anything specific. Just the various buildings when the time is right. So, but I have to buy the weathering powders. They're not expensive. Just, I guess I have to be careful not to buy all my supplies at once or else I'll go broke. So I have to wait till I'm ready to use the supplies before I buy them. Because I have a bad habit of like going, oh, I'm going to need this, I'm going to need that, I'm going to need this, I'm going to need that. And then I end up buying all these supplies for something that I'm not going to need for months later. So, yeah. Jacob says, is the train a Lionel train and track, or is it a different company? Different company. Lionel, they do O-scale, like Lionel, you know. This is ON30, so it is HO scale track done by Micromark, or Microengineering, same company, believe it or not. Micromark or Microengineering, HO scale track. The locomotive and cars and rolling stock is, all of it is Bachmann ON30. So Bachmann is pretty much like the main manufacturer of ON30 stuff. There are other manufacturers, but they sell things I don't need. So Bachmann is the company that makes all the stuff I need for my specific layout. So, yeah. Yeah, because my layout, while it is in O scale, it is technically a narrow gauge railroad. It is. That's why it's ON30. So it's narrow gauge. Let's see. Gabe says, model railroad looks good. Keep up with the update on your railroad, buddy. Oh, no problem. Yeah, things are gonna start moving on this railroad. That's for sure. Lots of stuff is gonna happen. Jacob says, I have a lot of Lionel trains and track. Some of the engines go back to the 1960s. Oh yeah, I have a friend named Richard. He's got a channel. You can watch his channel. It's really cool. It's called Richard's Trains and More, and he does Lionel stuff, only Lionel stuff, and he even refurbishes engines and things like that no longer work. And yeah, so he's a good friend of mine. We go way back, and yeah, his Lionel stuff is pretty cool. I've never been a Lionel fan, but I will say that the amount of work that he puts into his Lionel layout is really, really commendable. It's just amazing. So yeah, he's got a cool channel when it comes to that stuff. Chris says, I wanted to add about 9 feet to my old layout from 10 feet by 8 feet, making it 27 feet in total because I wanted to build a mid-sized rail yard. Oh, yeah. There's times where I kind of wish, that I had, a lot. I kind of wish I had a mansion sometimes, just so I could have a really big room dedicated to trains and make a really big layout, you know? And it would all be ON30, but it would be a big layout. But, you know, I think of that stuff too. I'd probably have an HO scale layout as well. It wouldn't be... Well, maybe it would be Steam. I don't know. But yeah. But, you know, I don't have very much space. Don't have very much money, so... But I think I've managed to create a really interesting layout design so far with the limited space I do have. And that's really what model railroading is all about, is how much you can fit reasonably into a small amount of space. So... yeah, so there will be some videos about historic topics of various narrow gauge railroads around the country coming up on the channel this year. Especially, I'm going to try to do one this month. And then, of course, the channel will continue doing updates on the model railroad. I should have an update coming pretty soon of the building my father was working on. And then once I'm finished with the building I'm currently working on, that will be another update of its own. So lots of stuff is coming to the channel when it comes to model railroad stuff. And then, of course, more ocean liners as well for the ocean liner fans. So yeah, lots of interesting stuff when it comes to the Age of Steam happening on the channel this year. I'm really excited for it because I think that'll be the really big ticket items that people want to see. Gabe says, I just tried my new sandwich maker. Gotten a grilled cheese sandwich for dinner. Nice. Gabe says, I always wanted a model railroad. My dad wants to get me one when he retires. Oh, nice. Frankie says, first time back in a while, and I like what you've done with the tracks. Thanks. Yeah. There's lots of stuff going on. I even added extra tracks to the layout. You guys will see that in an update in the future. But I've added an extra area of tracks to the layout because I had an extra switch and extra tracks, and I thought, this stuff is expensive. Why let it go to waste? So I'm like, I just install it on the layout. So I did. All right, folks. Well, I think that'll do it for this live stream today. We've been on for 2 hours now, but it's been really fun. And this was the first tea time live stream of the year, so it was really good to see you all here. I think on Saturday I'll have my dad over to help me work on the train layout. I might do a live stream on Saturday specifically about us working on the railroad. So, you'll know ahead of time if that happens because I'll schedule it on YouTube, and you should get a notification if you've clicked the notification bell icon. So that'll be on there. Yeah, and then next tea time stream should be Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, which is exactly 30 minutes earlier. I had to think about that. 30 minutes earlier than than the time I started it today. I do that so that way me and Historic Travels, we don't have live streams that overlap each other too much, because I know a lot of people want to catch his stream and vice versa. Some people want to capture my catch my stream as well. So so that's why Sundays will be 3:30 p.m. as opposed to 4 p.m. So anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me. It's been really great to have you all here, and I'm so excited for the new content coming to the channel, especially this month. So thank you all, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.